This is the beginning of lesson 4, and in lesson 3 we went through and we created these variables out here on the right side of the database. So we've got RNC whistle, DNC whistle, and the duration and the follow and the respectum. So we've got all of our dependent variables, and we've got the additional independent variables that we need, that oral argument one that's further up. And so now what we need to do is we need to insert some labels on some of these values that we're going to plot. If you just kind of plot them as they are, then you have to manually enter labels, and if you make mistakes on the graphs, it ends up being kind of a real kind of arduous process. And so a lot of times if you're going to graph stuff, it's better just to put the labels in ahead of time. One of the plots that we're going to do is going to work with this respect variable that we did before. And so if you click on values in this variable view down here, okay, and then you go up to the variable you're interested in, you click on values, then you can enter in labels for these different categories. And so the first one is going to be 3, and we're going to call that descent, distinguish. 2 is going to be majority, follow. 1 is going to be concur follow. -1 is going to be concur, actually, make sure I capitalize it, distinguish. -2 is going to be majority, distinguish. And -3 is going to be descent from a follow decision. I'm going to add that. So we've got our 6 different categories, and we have variables in each one of those. We have the variable labels in each one of those, and so we're okay. That's the good one. The other one that we're going to plot that we need to do that for is going to be follow, which is real simple. We just do 0, which is distinguish, add, and we're going to do 1, which is follow. Okay, and then the final one that we're going to need to do, I need to look up, so let me pause for a second. Okay, the third one we need to do is for this whistle panel. And so if you go back to the instructions for project 1, it'll show you which ones we need to do. So 4 was uni RNC, and let's just call it unified. We'll do the whole thing. We've got enough room. Unified RNC. 3 is DNC whistleblower. We'll just call it whistle, not. 2 is RNC whistle. And 1 is unified DNC. So we go from unified DNC to RNC whistle to DNC whistle to unified RNC. Click OK. And we're good. And we're going to be ready to plot these. Alright, so we've labeled the variables that we're going to need. And now what we're going to do is we're going to create some plots. And so to create plots, we just simply go up. Actually, you have to click on the output file where all this other, all the other output is. And then from that output file, the graphs menu will pop up. And so go into graphs. These first ones we're going to do box plots on. So I'm going to do a box plot, simple. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the traditional, which is the ideological points for all the different judges. I'm going to make that my variable, and I'm going to look at that variable on the basis of 2 categories. And so the first is going to be just whether they followed or not, right? That dependent variable that we created. Okay. And I'm not going to panel that yet or do anything else. I'm just going to run a real simple plot. And it looks like we have some differences, right? So this is a liberal precedent. So more conservative, traditional point goes from liberal to conservative. So more conservative justices were more likely to distinguish. But it's not a big, these are 95% confidence intervals. This doesn't look like a real strong, attitudinal relationship here. The 95% kind of boxes are the 95%, and so it doesn't, and there's a lot of overlap there, so it's not exactly what we need to do. Let's make this plot a little bit prettier though. So let's double click on it, which brings up this alternative menu. Because we labeled it, we have distinguish and follow in there already. But the first thing that we need to do is we need to get this on a real good scale. And so double click the left-hand axis and go in, and let's just change the scale a little bit. -1. Make the maximum 1, increment 0.25 is fine, and origins okay, so just click all those off. So -1, 1, 0.25, 0, and apply it. And that gives us a little bit better look at what's going on. Let's change the axis titles. So instead of follow, what I'm going to put in here is treatment. Okay, so if you click on it once and then click on it another time, you're going to put in here man. Okay, that's fine. So we can do that, and so there's our plot. Looks like it's okay. It's a little bit. Let me click on this and see if I can shrink this a little bit. Yeah, that helps a little bit. Might shrink it a little bit here to give it a little bit of a margin as well. It's nice to have a little bit of kind of margin all the way around there. But that's not a bad looking plot. We're going to close that, and we're going to kind of click the red. And when you go there, then it'll be here. Make sure you go up here in File and save your output file, because we're going to export those and put them into plots a little bit later, into your Microsoft Word document a little bit later. Okay, so that's our first plot. Looks pretty good. I think I'm going to stop here on this lesson and pick up the other lesson from the next point.